Thank you, Michelle, for that introduction. And thank you, everybody, to take this time to attend this webinar. I hope I can fill out all your expectation. Well, as the title says, for today, we're gonna be talking about Smart List Designer. I'm just gonna make some short slides so you can have a basic concept about what the tool is, what we can do with that tool, and then we are gonna work on some little exercises so you can have more clarifications about that. Our agenda for today. We are gonna take some basic concepts, as I said. We are gonna check some prerequisites, what we need to have in mind, what we need to take into account so we can use the tool. Then I'm gonna provide you with some additional resources where you can have more in-depth information. And after that, I'm gonna perform the demo or the exercises. By the end, we are gonna have a question and answer session. So I would really appreciate if you have questions, you can write them through the question and answer Zoom panel, or then providing them at the end of the session. So let's get started. Smart List Designer was a tool that was first introduced on GP Core since the version 2013 Service Pack 2. Since that version, additional features and enhancement has been added to the tool, so the user can have a really friendly way to use it and to meet the purpose of the tool, which is allows the user to easily build queries over financial data. One thing that we need to know or to clarify is when we talk about financial data, it's not only related with information that comes from Dynamics GP tables. By creating a Smart List, I can attach or I can link any table that is associated to any third-party models, and even from any external data through a SQL view, which is defined or resides in the company database. And here I have to clarify again that the view has to be defined in the company database. That's something that can make some confusion, because what happens if you have information or if you have data that is stored in another database or in another SQL server? Well, the thing here is the data collection process that Smart List use comes from the system database or from the company database. So in that terms, if you have information that is stored outside that database, you can use all the options or all the functionality that you have through SQL Server, build that view that you need on the company database, and then you can collect the information through Smart List. So that is something that can sound a little bit tricky, but the thing is that it's based on company database objects. I mean, tables, which can be through, we can go through the Dynamics dictionary or any third-party product dictionary, or through SQL views. Well, the other thing is Smart List can be used to build new Smart Lists from the scratch. It means that you don't have nothing on hand, so you only start selecting a table, selecting views, selecting the fields that you want to work with, or you can use one of the 16 Smart Lists that you have on out of the box, or the standard, or any other that has been customized previously. You can start from that and then goes to a Smart List Designer and add some additional tables or additional fields depending on what exactly do you need. Another function that a Smart List Designer has is that you can add any calculate fields. It means you can create new fields to apply some mathematical calculation or to apply any formulation depending on what your needs are. Another functionality that we have here is that all the definition that you do through the SmartList Designer can be exportable. It means, for example, you have a separate test or a separate developer or development environment, so you can start working there, create your new SmartList, make tests, and when you're pretty sure that the information that you're getting is exactly what you request, you can export your SmartList definition through an XML file, and then go move that file to your live environment and importing over there. So you don't need to, in that basis, you don't need to do any starting again to define the SmartLink on the live environment. Just export it and then importing in the other deployment that you want. Okay. In order we can work with SmartList Designer, we need to take some basic aspects or some understanding in two specific areas. The first one of them is related by the fact you will be gathering information from SQL Server or directly from the database. So in that terms, it's important to have some knowledge about the data management, have some knowledge about SQL Server, and specifically have some knowledge about the SQL scripting or the SQL query structure language. The other aspect that we need to take in mind is to have some knowledge about the Microsoft Dynamics GP table structure, because if you're gonna build your own views, you need to identify that in the database the tables has a special naming convention, which can be different from the one that you call. If for example, if you're a Dexterity developer, when you create a new development using Dexterity, the table names that you will see using this development environment will be totally different when you go through the database and look for tables in the company database. So the thing here, we need to take in mind about what are the GP models and what are the prefixes or shortcuts that GP used to identify those models. So we have here, for example, GL is for the general ledger, FA is for fixed access, CM is for banking or bank reconciliation, PM is for payables management, RM is for receivables management, SOP is for sales order processing, POP is for purchase order processing, and IV is for inventory. Maybe you can have another prefix or another model, but the basic ones are this. Another thing that we need to take in mind is the type of the record the table stores in. So we can have master records that belong, for example, for vendors, customers, accounts, items, etc. Any master entity will be stored on this type of tables. Then we have transaction records. We can have setup records. That means that we can have a record to collect configuration settings for any module or for any specific functionality. We can have reporting option records, and we can have temporal records. Most of the time, the temporal records are stored on temporal tables, and that tables are only created in the TempDB database. That table will only see for the period that we are using. After we finish to using that table, SQL Server handle an internal process to delete that table. So we're not taking in consideration the temporal tables. And what I said before, then we need to take into account the naming convention. When you go through the SQL Server and open a company database and explore the tables node, you will have always you will see tables having the XX and a serial number. XX is a shortcut for the module prefix, and then the serial number will be based on the type of the record the table stored. So having 100 or from 100 to 999 serial numbers, that means that that table is gonna store master records. Having 10,000 tables means that I have transactional records that belong to a working or work status. Having 20,000 tables means that I have transactional records, but with the status post and open. And 30,000 tables means that I have transaction records, but that are post in a historical status. Setup records are stored on tables having 40,000 serial number, and reproductions are stored on 70,000 serial number. Okay. These are some additional resources that you can go through. Well, this is not an advice, but Victoria Judy has a great portal that you can go through, and you can get a lot of information about GP models, GP tables, what did you descriptions, detailed descriptions about GP tables, and actually you can have some preliminary views that you can use in your environment. Another resources that I'm really feel confident is the Dynamics GP Blockster from my friend Mariano Gomez. You can have a lot of functional and technical information over there. Another resource that is important to have on hand is the Microsoft Dynamics GP SDK that you can find them through the installer, or you can go through the Dynamics GP option, which is table description. And actually, that's not only the resources that you can use. There are a lot much more information. Just Google it as Dynamics GP Smart List Designing, and you will get a lot of information regarding that. Okay, as I say, that will be some short slides. The most important here is that we can do our exercises, so you can have a better understanding about the tool can do. So let me exit from the presentation mode. I'm gonna switch to Dynamics GP. Okay, the option that you have to go through a Smart List Designer is having your GP client already started. Goes to the Microsoft Dynamics GP option menu, and then go to the Smart List option. That will open the standard Smart List that you already know. Having in this window, you can identify that there are some new buttons, the new one and the modified buttons, and the export and import buttons. Those three buttons belong to specifically the Smart List Designer tool. But how to open the Smart List Designer? As I said before, you can start building a Smart List from the scratch, having nothing in there, or you can start building a new Smart List from the information that already belongs to an existing one. The first exercise that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a basic Smart List. I'm gonna make a list for the accounts that we have registered in our system, and I'm gonna do it from the scratch, having nothing on hand. So to do that, the most important thing you need to take on mind is having nothing highlighted on the Smart List panel or the folder panels. You can only just have the company or the series node highlighted, and then you click new. When you click new, you're gonna get the Smart List Designer window, which is empty. I have several sections on there. Let me explain the section that we have here. The first section is at the top that is at the top of the window, which is used to name and to classify the new Smart List that we are creating with. So when we're gonna name this as test 01. From the product list, you can have all the products or the models that you already have installed on your GP client. Okay, I'm gonna say that for this test, this exercise, the Dynamics GP product will be the product that this smart is gonna be based on. And then the series. These are the series that belongs to or OGP used to classify the information. As I said, my main exercise will be to get a list, a basic standard list for GL accounts. So that represents, that is on the financial series. So I'm gonna select that one. Okay, the next section that I have here is the database view panel. As you can see, you will have here listed all the products that you have installed on your Dynamics GP deployment. And the last one is view. So when you click on any product, for example, let's say Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics GP, you will see tables. And the node tables will collect information from any specific series, and from the series, we are gonna have a list of all the tables that belongs to that series. Okay, and let me show you now how the views node works. When you expand the views node, you will see system and company. System represents the system database, which is normally it is called Dynamics. And company is the database for the company that we are currently connected. So let me explain company. And you will get a list of all the views that are defined in the company database. You can see maybe here that some views has like a table name convention, but don't get confused about that. That's our views, not tables. Okay, so this is the way that we have to navigate or to explore all the resources that we have to collect information from there. Then in the right side, we have three sections. The first one is select fields. So I'm gonna get here a list of all the fields that I have selected from the tables that I had selected in the database view. The next one, relationship section, is an option that I have to make a relationship between tables. When I have more than one table, I need to specify what is the relation that those tables have. How the first table can relate to the second one, and that will determine how the records from those tables will be gathered. The next section that I have is filter. Filter is an option that I have to apply some search or filter criteria based on the fields that I have already selected or the fields that belongs to the table that I have selected. Then the next section that I have in this window is the results preview and the T-SQL query. That is something that is important, that is very useful when you're building the Smartlist, because you don't need to go to Smartlist and test what the results are. So in this window, you can run the query or you can run the Smartlist that you're defining, and you can have a preview about the data or the result you're gonna get when properly running the Smartlist. The SQL tab or the T-SQL query tab will show you, it's not an editable option, it's just a read only. It will show you what will be the SQL query that is behind all the options that you have done on the database view, on the select fields, relationships, and filter tabs. That will be converted to a SQL script, so maybe you can select that query and then paste it on a SQL query from SQL Server Management Studio, and then you can run it over there just to get some more information. But as I say, it's only read only. So that means that you don't build a smart list based on SQL queries right here. Okay. So let's start. Let's get started with our exercise. So as I say, I'm gonna make a basic list from my GL accounts. So let's look for the table. The table where the all GL accounts are stored is named account master. So let's expand the account master table to see all the fields that belong to that table. I can check if I want to include all the fields that belong to that table. I just, okay, let me see, because I'm having some issue with my mouse. Okay, you can click on the square beside the table name, and that will automatically select all the fields from that table and will add it to the selected fields grid, as you can see here. Or if you don't want to use all fields, you can clear the checkbox and just select those ones that you want to work with. For example, I want to work with the account number. I want to see the account type. I want to see the posting type. I want to see if the account is active or inactive. And I want to see the typical balance, which can be debit or credit. I just want to see that. Okay, so if I click execute query, you can see the result, some previous results right there. Okay, but let's check it. As soon as you click on OK, that will immediately create the smart list to your smart list window, and will select it immediately, and that will be run as soon it gets. So here we have 509 records. Those are all the accounts that I have on my GL account master table. But let's do something that we can explore in depth. Let's go back to the Smart List Designer window by clicking on Modify. That will modify the Smart List that I have selected, and I'm gonna get back to the window. For example, I want to apply some search criteria. I don't want to see all the accounts. I want to see only active accounts. So I can go here, look for the field, and I will say account master active field has to be equals to 1, because 1 represents active, 0 represents inactive. If I click execute query, you don't have to click on execute query every time, no? This is just to show you as a preview results. Okay, you will get all the active accounts. So let's see how is that refresh on my smart list window. Remember, the last execution, in the last execution, we got 519 records. Now, as I apply the filter, because I only want to see the active accounts, and there only one account that was inactive. So that means they're going to have 518 records now. Okay, let's make another modify to this exercise. For example, I don't want to see only my account or my main account attributes, and you want to see, for example, another kind of information that maybe is not stored or resides in the same table. Suppose that I have that I want to see my mainly account information and the balance per periods or per year and per periods. So I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna add another table that comes from financial series, and I will use the account current summary master table. I'm gonna expand it because I don't want to add all the fields, as you want to see the year, the period ID, the ledger ID, and the debit credit amount and the period balance. Okay, then I'm gonna click OK. Oh, sorry, I forget that I have more than one table, so I need to specify it's strongly necessary to do a table relationship. So let's explain about that. My account master table will be my base table, and the account summary table will be my second table. And I want to see all the accounts, even if they don't have balancing or summary balance information. So that's mean that I will say my account master through the account index field. The account index is my primary key on this table. It means that is a unique value for each account will be related to the second one as a left join. Left join means please display all the records in the first table, even if they don't have related records in the second table. Okay. Inner joins means that I will collect only the records that are common between both tables. It means if I have a record in the first table and that record has records in the second table, those records will be displayed. If the record in the first table doesn't have any record or any related record in the second table, that record is not gonna appear in the result. So let's use left join, and I will say through my account index field. Let's click OK, and then I'm gonna have that information over there. Well, depending on how many years of fiscal years and how many periods I have configured for any year, that will be the number of records that I can have on my smart list. One standard functionality that is for smart list, they always define the default favorite, which is based on the first 1,000 records, first 1,000 records with no search criteria. Then it will apply the default definition that we have in the smart list, but it will always select the first 1,000 records. That is always that we can check in the smart list settings. And that is just for performance purposes, because maybe when you open your smart list, you can have favorites, you can define different favorites, but you don't want to use the default one. So if you click here, it will always run the default ones. So you can stop it, or you can have, for example, just the first record, just to allow the smart list don't take too much time to explore or to display the default favorite. And then you can select the favorites, the other favorites that you have. Okay, let's move on. And I want to do another modification. As you can see, I have here period balances having positive and negative values. That is depending on the type of typical balance or the type of the account. But let's say that I want to see negative value here. And you can see the amounts on the period balance column doesn't include the dollar sign, and doesn't include the, and it is including five decimal places. So I want to format this column to showing or to formatting to having the same format that debit and credit amount. Okay, so let's go back to the Smart List Designer window. And for those fields that have a currency data type, you will see this icon beside it. That means that is a currency amount, and you can apply some filter. If you click over the icon, you will get the currency format window, where you define what will be the dollar sign or the symbol or the currency symbol that will display. You can have default, which is based on the currency configuration. You can have no, don't display any symbol, and you can have specific symbols that is taken from the currency configuration table that we have on GP. I will leave it on default. When you select default, there is not an option to select how many decimal places, because if you select default, that will base on the currency configuration setup or configuration record. Okay. Now, you have the option to create calculate fields. How do you calculate field, or how do you add calculate field? You have a button here, which is the FX or the formula button. When you click over there, you will open the calculate fields window. Then I'm gonna create a new one, and you can have here too many some functions or some mathematical operation that you can apply using the fields that you already have on your Smartly. So I'm gonna say that is a positive balance, period balance. The type of this will be currency, and actually you can create a calculate fields of the type date, integer, long integer, on a string, and you can apply any kind of or formulas or operations over the fields. Let's say it will be currency because I don't want to have negative values on period balance, and I will say the function that I need to work with is math, and I will use the absolute function. The absolute function will convert all the values in positive values. Which values? The one that comes from the account, from the current summary master table, period balance. If I add it and save it, it will make a validation over the expression or the formula. If everything is okay, it will allow you to close. If you have an error, it will display the error that you have. Once you have here, you click it, and then you click on, you select it, and you click OK, and that will add the calculate fields to the selected fields section. And you can see, as I say, it is a currency data type. I will get the currency format window option. So I'm going to convert it to default. And let's see how it goes. Okay, now you can see here that all the values here, oh, sorry, it didn't get the format. Let's stop it and let's see. Is default. Not sure why it's not getting the format, but we can come here and we can say the dollar sign and 2 decimals. And now it's having the proper format. Okay. Well, let's say another, and let's do another exercise. But at this time, I'm gonna use I'm gonna create a new smart list, having on a basic standard transaction list, but that will be based on a SQL Server view. I will leave it from product, Dynamics GP, and from financial series. I'm going to explore the views that I have here on my company database. Sorry. Let's use the bank transaction. The bank transaction view. And I will use all the fields that belong to that view. And when apply, I will only use that view. I don't want related to any another table or view. And I won't apply any filter criteria. So if I click OK, I will have another smart list displaying all the information that I have on that view. Okay, this exercise shows you how to build a new smart list, but based on a view. Depending on how complex or how big is the view, it will take it will be fast or it will be slow to display all the information, because it depends on how that view is has been defined. Let's make one last exercise, but in this time I'm gonna show you how to build a new smart list, but from taking information that belongs to an existing one. For example, let's go to the purchasing series. I'm gonna build a new smart list from vendors. I have here my vendors that I have defined on my system, but I only have here the basic attributes for that vendor. If I have this smart list selected and I click new, you can see that I start my smart list designer window having information there. What information? The information that is already displayed on the smart list that I have selected. Okay, let's name as a test 03 that will belong to Dynamics GP, and the series will be purchasing. The objectives of this exercise, I want to list the basic attributes for this vendor and the banking information for that vendors. The banking information is the one that I set up for vendor's address, and I can use that information to perform electronic fund transfers. But I want to see that, okay? So then I go to the Microsoft Dynamics GP, expand the tables node, and looks for the company node. I expand it. And then I have this table here, address electronic fund transfer master. That's the table that stores the electronic banking information for vendors and for customers. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna expand it. And I will say that I want to use all the fields that belongs to that table. So once I click the table name, it will automatically select all the fields. And you can see here that you have the field that comes from the vendor entity or the vendors table, and the fields that come from the address electronic fund transfer master table. As I have two different tables, I have to make a relationship, and I want to display all my vendors even if they don't have electronic fund transfer configurations. So I will say vendors will be my base table. The unique values for that table is vendor ID and will be related as a left join as a left join to the second table through the customer vendor ID field. If I click OK, I can see all my vendors and their banking information. At this time, I only have, I'm going to stop it because there is a lot of information there. At this time, I only have the first vendor, Ace Travel 0001, having banking information. Okay, but what happens if I only want to see all vendors having banking information? So I'm gonna change the relationship as an inner join. If I click OK, I will get only that record because that's the only one that I have having banking information.